Welcome back to the Sausage Curve, folks, and we have now had the first three rounds of the British Touring Car season. After a long, horrid, drawn out, cold and miserable winter, we are now back underway with the touring cars, which still seem to be slightly stuck in the cold, miserable winter, but it gave us a fantastic show as always. So, were any of you guys there? We were there the Saturday and the Sunday, which is why we never really posted much on our socials because the signal was terrible. If any of you guys were there, let us know how you found it in the comments. Was it your first time there? Had you went every single year? Were you camping? There's been a lot of complaints about the campsites at Donington Park. Half of us were in the campsite. The other half stayed in a hotel, so we know how it went on both sides, but it'd be interesting to know your thoughts on it. Well, we had a terrific weekend of racing. I found it really, really exciting to watch. It was great to hear the cars again, and testing conditions is always great to see how the drivers and cars respond and see if there's anybody who can creep through and grab a few points, and that's what we saw. We saw that at the weekend. But before we get started with all that, I just wanted to raise your attention to a little giveaway that we've got. It's not a competition, it's a giveaway. We have got an Aidan Moffat Laser Tools Racing poster, which isn't shown up very well on here, from 2015 at Croft. It's signed by Aidan. And basically we're doing that as a giveaway to one of our subscribers. So the aim is, with a relatively new channel like this, is we want to get up to 100 subscribers. As soon as we hit the 100 subscribers mark, we will be picking one of our subscribers at random. I might even do it on a live stream, and they will win that signed and framed poster. So I thought that was quite a cool little giveaway for someone who might want it. If you decide you don't want it and you win it, we can pass it on and we can do another draw the next time and somebody else could win it. But I thought that might be something a little bit different. So what will we get onto here? We'll get onto the web news and we'll talk about what happened at the weekend. Now, so you can see in our today's news little window up there, you can see that flickering through the kind of main news events from the weekend. But we'll start with the top 10 showdown. So how did you find it? Was it confusing at the time? Was it not clear enough, or did you not really care? We were there. We were there for the quali. And if it's hard to hear the tar noise, etc., it is difficult to know with the start and end. It's best to get a timing screen or something in front of you. But it was clear to us that when the track calmed down and then you've got your top 10 coming out, they're really all on it and they're really looking for that little window to get a great lap in. So that was really close. I think Ronan Pearson just missed out on the top 10 with a little mistake for himself because he's a rookie in the Btcc, of course. But he was a bit frustrated with that. Andrew Watson was probably the kind of standout for qualifying, I think, because he broke into the top 10 in the Power Max racing car, which for a lot of people will have been, a pleasant surprise to see a different team up there. Everybody thought it was just going to be your Napa Racing Focuses, WSR, of course, Accelerate are going to be your three big boys, closely followed probably by Toyota and One Motorsport with Starline, I think it is. So this is how they rounded up after the shootout. Ash Sutton says he made a mistake. His time was actually, I think the qualifying time was actually slower. The top 10 showdown qualifying time was actually slower than Ash Sutton's qualifying lap that he put in on the main quali. So he was real frustrated to be second. And that kind of showed at the start of the race for race one. We kind of jumped the start. It was it was a wet track. They had the wet tyre on, slippery. It wasn't quite drying out anywhere near enough to put any slicks on. So it was a wet start to it. And what happened was at the beginning, there was a bit of an incident where Jake Hill's Beamer got a bit of a fantastic start, as you would expect from the rear-wheel drive cars in slippery conditions, and he shot up the middle, and there was a little bit of a bottleneck between Rowbottom, Hill and Ash Sutton. Ash Sutton got tagged at the back end, done well to catch the car, but then ended up all over the grass, full of mud, radiator in trouble, and eventually, after coming in the pits and going back out, Ash Sutton sadly had to retire. So this is how the order finished. Dan Cammish managed to take full advantage. I think Rowbottom was pushed back in that first corner incident. Jake Hill managed to hold position for second. Tom Ingram was fighting mostly with one eye really, because his window wipers weren't working on his car, so he was basically pointing at Cammish on the onboards and saying, you go for Hill. And as the BMW's rear tyres went off, as they tried to dry out and they overheat, the front wheel drive cars seemed to take control. But as you can see, Andrew Watson from 9th fought his way up in the Vauxhall Astra to 4th, which was, to me, was absolutely fantastic to watch. Some fantastic overtakes, and he was obviously just fully in control of that car. It just felt as one, at one with the car. So Ricky Collard in the Toyota finishing in the top 6, which is good for Toyota, and Tom Ingram solid in 3rd. So apart from that, there was no real standouts in that top 14 that you can see there. The Cupra Leon of Dexter Patterson sneaking in. Aidan Moffat still trying to get used to that car in 13th. Turkington a little bit lowly. He was pushed wide in one of the corners, and he was stuck out wide as the rest of the pack pushed through, and he managed to fight back to 12th. Rory Butcher had similar issues. I think he was quite frustrated there. And Aaron Taylor-Smith in the second of the 3 PMR Vauxhall Astras, finishing 10th, which I thought was a stellar performance from him as well. So I think that was all the action. If I've forgot anything, smash it in the comments and we can talk about it. We can talk about it in the comments or on the next show. Race 2, we saw Ronan Pearson disqualified, actually. I mean, I've jumped the gun a little bit, but he's at the top of the listings there. But what happened was basically race 2, as the cars were coming out for the kind of pre-warm-up lap to take the positions on the grid, it was spitting with rain. It was spitting. It looked... There was a dry line on the track and it started to spit with rain. Now, it wasn't until really that they started their official formation lap that it was becoming apparent to us it was going to be far too wet for slicks. So the race got underway and a few people bombed into the pits immediately to get wets. They possibly could have bombed in at the end of the formation. I believe Chilton did. So the guys who managed to get in and get changed over to wets nice and early, as you can see, they basically finished in the top, maybe I think it was 12 positions. I believe that's about right. Top 10 or 12 positions. They all jumped into the pits earlier for wets. And that's how you see the likes of Tom Chilton, who had finished race 1 a little bit further down the order. Where is he? There in 15th. He managed to just take that gamble, get in early, and he got the switch done nice and early and was powering away from everyone. Now, it became a bit confusing while you stood there watching on the at the actual track, because it became that jumbled mess of first was here past you, then you maybe had a gaggle of cars who had already been lapped or were going to be lapped because they were on slicks or they had pit in, and then you had second place and third. So you really had to keep on the ball with the big screens or the radios. But Tom Chilton was running away with it. Adam Morgan was second. Ronan Pearson had fought his way up to 3rd and finished the race in 3rd, but was disqualified for a ride height infringement, which was absolutely heartbreaking for him, because after his race 1, his frustration at himself, he really had pulled it out the bag for race 2, and I felt really, really sorry for him, especially being a local Scottish lad as well. Well, local to where I used to live in Scotland. But as you can see, Sam Osborne got his best ever finish in the British Touring Cars. Stephen Jelly finished quite high up there in the BMW, and Mikey Doble pipped Nic Hamilton in the Cupra Leon for Team Hard at the last chicane, which was a bit heartbreaking because we wanted to see Nic Hamilton bring up get an independent win, or a Jack Sears win, I believe, and that would have just been absolutely fantastic. But nevertheless, Mikey Doble getting his highest finish in the British Touring Cars, not surprising after only 2 races, and Nic Hamilton getting his highest finish in his career, which it was absolutely fantastic to see, because what we found out later, well, we knew Anthony was there, his father, which was brilliant for him to witness that at the trackside with his mother. But Lewis was also in the crowd, undercover. As you went past the craners, he was like kind of standing undercover around the hill a bit, and he didn't really want to draw attention away from Nick's weekend and his racing, so he stayed undercover and watched Nic and was cheering him on his own which was fantastic to see, really. But we'll talk a little bit about that maybe later. Nic Hamilton, his best finish of the weekend, because the other two races he ended up in the gravel. But it was good for him to get some big points. And Turkington managed to fight back to 8th, which was a bit of a stellar performance from Turkington, who had a bit of a miserable start to the weekend. So, as you can see, Dan Cammish managed to get that. I believe he got the fastest lap, and he managed to finish in the top 12. So that's quite important, really, because going into race 3 with a reverse grid, and Cammish managed to fight his way through. I think it was reverse from 6, was it? I can't remember now. I'm being absolutely awful, haven't I? Put me right in the comments. But Dan Cammish managed to fight through and take the win. Tom Ingram managed to finish second. I think he pipped Sutton, possibly. Did he get him a few laps before the end? And Ash Sutton managed to pip Jake Hill for a podium. But as you can see, it's kind of like normal formation resumed, apart from Bobby Thompson sneaking up there in the Coupe Leon, great finish, and Josh Cook looking like he's starting to get control of that One Motorsport car in the final race. But again, the Vauxhall Astra of Aaron Taylor-Smith finishing in a brilliant 9th position for him. Andrew Watson in 12th, so still in the points, and Mikey Doble I think slipped down a little bit in that race. I'm not sure what problems he had. Yeah, DNF, so he had some problems, and as did Nic Hamilton in that race. We did speak to Jack Buttel, who had a bit of a miserable weekend, really. He was happy to finish just outside the points in 17th for race 3 after having a horrible misfire in race 1. You could hear him as he went around the track. It just was not happening for him. Every time he changed gear, you could hear a clear misfire. The car just wasn't moving how he wanted it to, and he got a couple of drive-throughs as well, which he wasn't very chuffed about. So I think that was kind of all the news, kind of rounded up very quickly from the notes from Donington. So what did you guys make of it? Was there any surprises for you guys? Was you disappointed with any of the teams? I think for me, we're going to go on a little bit about driver of the day. So I'll just see if I can get that up just now. Get rid of the news. And driver of the day. So as you can see, I've got 3 drivers up there. This is just a personal choice. This is just my choice. The other guys that were there had different driver of the days. But this is my choices. So I've put Nic Hamilton in there for an absolute stellar performance. I don't think his window wiper was working either in race 2. But he held on so well. And him and Mikey Doble had a couple of overtakes between them, a bit of a ding-dong in the race, and he wasn't playing it safe. He wasn't just sitting there because he'd made a great decision with the tyre choice, or his engineer had made a great decision, but he actually hung on and showed that you can race with the best of them, when the conditions level you out a little bit. I thought he'd done a fantastic job and held on really well for his best ever race finish. Watson, I thought he had so entertaining in race 1. Watch him come through, going by his qualifying and his race 1 performance. That's taken away the weird and wonderful conditions of race 2. I think Watson could have went on to have an even better day than he did. So he's going in there in my top 3. But I have to say that Dan Cammish really, after not having the best of qualifying, he really did come up and show that. I mean, he was good in qualifying. I might be talking a bit of pish there. He was third in qualifying, but he believed he was quicker. But with even everything else thrown at them during the day, he still managed to win both race 1 and race 3 with all the shambles that went on in between with the rain. So I think Dan Cammish is one to watch. He, remember a championship got away from him not so long ago, and he'll believe that if he's got the right equipment under him, that they can go on and win something. His problem will be that Rowbottom and Ash Sutton are no slouches, and they're both quick in this car as well. So it's really one to watch for. I think Napa is a really interesting aspect. Toyota weren't far off. I think Butcher had a bit of a frustrating weekend, but they weren't far off. They've probably got a bit of learning to do with that car, and I think they'll come good. WSR, a little bit perplexed. I think possibly on track activities, probably a little bit unlucky with a bit of traffic and bits and bobs, maybe some decisions, but Turkington wasn't really at it until the last race, but he managed to kind of save his weekend. But Paramax Racing with Car Store, the Vauxhall seem to be a bit of a surprise package. They seem to have got their act well and truly together and seem to have put 3 fast cars and fast drivers on these tracks. So what do you make of it? Who was your driver of the day? Let us know, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, please, and make sure you like it as well. I'm not asking much, am I? But we have got a free giveaway, and in future we will have some more free giveaways as well. I've just got to decide whether I want to give away my signed Lando Norris poster or not, but we've got lots of little bits and bobs to give away, so keep on coming along, keep subscribing. And the next race is, of course, Brands Hatch, which is on the 6th and 7th of May. My birthday's the 8th, so I was tempted to go down to Brands Hatch for the day. I think there's also TCR on the same day, if anybody's interested and can't get all the way down to Brands Hatch. I think TCR UK are visiting Croft that weekend, so that's well worthwhile a little look if you're more local to Croft than you are to Brands Hatch. But apart from that, folks, yeah, I think that's about it. So we'll hopefully, if we're not at the next event, and or if we're up to something else, we'll share it on our socials, or we'll share it on here, and we'll also try and get some information on some shorts and on some TikTok as well. But apart from that, stay safe, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers for watching. Catch you later.